What's going on, guys? Welcome to my channel. This segment is all about stories. It's story time. So this video is all about social engineering. I put a poll out asking you what you would like to see in a story time video, and you said you want to see how I got into a multi-billion-dollar consultancy company. Of course, I can't give away too much information because, they're clients, they're businesses, they're legitimate. We don't want you hacking or social engineering your way into these buildings, so I'm going to give you what I can. I had 2 days to do this engagement. The first day was all about reconnaissance, and the second day was actually conducting the social engineering exercise. So I'm not going to go too much into the depths of social engineering because I hope you understand this through my other videos and also what you've seen yourself. And obviously it'll make the video much longer than it should be. So I'm just going to get straight into what happened, what I did, and what the end goal was. So, working with the client, all they knew was that I was going to be on site at some point. They didn't know when in a week period I was actually going to be there. They just know at some point I was going to be there. So the reason I do this is obviously you don't want to make people aware that you're going to be there on a certain day because that allows them to prepare for it. And you don't want that. You want this to be a proper engagement whereby you go in and people aren't aware that you're going to be there because that's real life. So day one, as I say, was all about reconnaissance. The first thing I did was I arrived in the location, but I had a hotel nearby. So I sat in my hotel, I did some open source intelligence. I went on Google, I looked at Google Images. So what Google Images and Google Maps can show you is a street view of the building that you're going to try and get into. So of course, using that, you can actually have a look around. You can see what's there. So you can see, so there's a door, there's a side door there, reception's there. Are there any CCTV cameras around? Is there a security guard like unit box? You can get those car ones where you drive up to and they open the barrier doors, things like that. You can see any people walking around. What do they look like? What are they dressed like? You can just pick out little parts that you might be able to put to use later on. So with that knowledge, I wanted to do some physical. And the other part, obviously, of course, with open source intelligence is you're not physically there. So if you hang around too much trying to look at things, you're probably going to be spotted because you want to be inconspicuous. If you're not, then someone's going to question what you're doing standing looking at their CCTV cameras. Anyway, so moving on, I go to the building in plain clothes, like a normal kind of, maybe even the tourist would be. I walk around the building once, nothing wrong with that. People walk around buildings, people like architecture. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, okay, yeah, that side door's got an ID badge reader. That one might be open. There's reception. I'm looking at employees that are walking in and out. What are they wearing? Are they smart? Are they casual? Where are their ID badges? Do they hold it around their neck or a lanyard? Is it on their kind of waist, on one of those retainer things on a string? You want to know what they look like so you can then copy that the next day. So in this instance, they actually wore both. They wore both a lanyard and they wore one on their waist. So it didn't seem like there's a consistency throughout there. It kind of seemed like the employee does what they want to do. So I wasn't too fussed when it came to that. I brought a lanyard with me and I bought a badge holder for my waist. I went with a lanyard. And what I typically do on social engineering engagements is take a load of different color lanyards with me. But again, this can be done with the open source intelligence. Look online before you go, look at their company colors, and you can understand what color you want to use. So, for example, I used a blue one because all of the employees were using a blue one. Fit in with the environment. I also found that the employees are wearing smart clothing. So of course, I'm going to wear smart clothing. I'm not going to wear a full suit because they weren't in full suits. They were just in open collar shirts and black chinos or something like that. That's what I wore with shoes. The next part of the reconnaissance is I wanted to know when would be a good time to enter the building. So all of this previous recon that I did, walking around the building and whatnot, was at 7 a.m. I did that because it's an early time where people wouldn't be coming in or out yet. Typically in businesses, because they run from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. or a bit later, the footfall kind of comes around 9, sometimes for lunch obviously around 12. So I'm thinking 9 a.m. might be a good time to get into the business. But what I didn't know yet was how reception looked. What I found with this particular building is there's actually a restaurant connected to it. So what I did was I got my laptop, I sat down in the restaurant for breakfast, and it just so happens that there was a glass door that looked straight into reception. So I got a table where I could actually peek into that door, see reception, see the gates to get into the business so they can go up to the elevator to their floor. And this gave me a lot of insight. I saw that people were arriving at 9 a.m. I saw that the gates didn't actually seem to be proper gates. They didn't have the physical kind of shutters. What they seemed to be, was kind of laser-based gates. So when people were scanning their ID cards, they could walk straight through. I also saw people not scan their ID cards, which suggests the security on reception didn't actually challenge them. So this is good information for future, because maybe I can walk through myself and not be challenged. So another thing you can do in terms of reconnaissance is look at LinkedIn. LinkedIn is a great business resource for looking at high-powered people within a company. So what I did was I entered this company into LinkedIn and I found who their CEO is. I found all the IT managers, HR people, lots of different high-level employees, because that's useful for later. If you ever get challenged within a business, you can throw a few of these high-level names out and instantly people are going to go, oh, okay, they're higher level than me in the company, so it must be something more important than I have to be dealing with. And that's great. So definitely recommend doing that. Now you have to think of a pretext before you go into the business. Before heading into day 2, you have to think, if I get stopped, what am I telling people? Why am I here? So in this instance, my pretext was that I'm a IT engineer from a subsidiary company. Because it's a billion-dollar company, they have HQs all over the world. So, I've got a Southern English accent. So I'm from the Southern English division of that company. I'm going to another subdivision of that company saying I'm an IT engineer from that company, setting up some networking to make sure, the IT basically is working between the two companies. Very simple. When I do these engagements, I don't change my name too much. Instead of my actual name, I'll probably keep myself Luke, but change my surname. So then if you ever talk to someone, they'll also know you as Luke. If you tell someone that your name's Dave and someone shouts Dave at you, you're probably not going to respond to them. But if they say Luke, you're going to know it's you. So that's a key tip. Always keep your first name the same, but maybe change your last name. So with this pretext, you're about ready to go into day 2. So, day 2. This is the day where I'm actually breaking in and doing the social engineering exercise. So I put on the clothes I'm saying, I put on the smart clothes, not too smart, I put on the lanyard, I put on a badge. It wasn't even a proper badge, it was a blank badge with a ID card holder that looked similar to the one they had. It wasn't even the exact same, and it didn't have any identification of myself on it. You place it around the wrong way, people won't question it. They see you've got a badge, they think you're probably legitimate. So I did the same sort of thing that I did the previous day. I sat in the cafe, 8 a.m. I had some breakfast, I had a coffee. I chilled out. Nerves get the best of you sometimes with social engineering and give you away. Try to calm yourself down, like I say, just chill out, have a drink, get yourself prepared. As I say, there's a glass door. I could see the gates, I could see the reception. I wanted to go in when there was going to be a big footfall. So what I was waiting for was a group of people to come in so I could go behind them and just tailgate in with them. So obviously I was waiting for reception to be busy as well. Guests come into companies, reception has to deal with these guests. So I'm looking for both of these things. I'm looking for reception to be busy with guests, and I'm looking for groups of people to come in. This is going to be impeccable timing. Sometimes it doesn't work, sometimes it works. In this case, I got the timing right, I was able to do it. I finished my food, I had my coffee. As soon as I saw a group come in and the reception were busy, I went for it. I think the thing to think about here is, because the gates were lasers, I was thinking these could be alarm-based gates. So if you go in without scanning a badge, will they sound an alarm? They probably will. So what did I do? I had some headphones in, pretending that I was listening to music. So when I fake scanned my badge, of course it's not going to work. I'm not part of the company. I walked through the barriers. The alarms went off. I was like, okay, I can hear the alarms, but I'm pretending to listen to music. So hopefully no one's going to stop me listening to my music. The key point is people don't want to cause conflict, and people tend to not actually want to disturb you. Even though you could be in the wrong, people don't want to challenge you. So even though those alarms were going off, I walked through them. I was able to keep walking. The security behind me did nothing. I walked into the elevator and I tailgated an employee all the way to the floor they were going, because I knew on the other side of that elevator gate, there could be more ID badge doors, and there were. So I went to the 10th floor, I followed an employee out, he scanned his badge on the ID door, I followed him in, no questions asked. At that point, I'm into the business. So now I'm into the business, what can I do? Well, the point of this exercise was to gain access to the network and keep persistent access at that. So I actually had a Dropbox with me. It's a Raspberry Pi with a 4G dongle, with obviously an Ethernet port as well. So once that's plugged into the network, I can actually 4G in when I leave the business and keep a persistent access on this network. So typically what I do when I actually get into a business is I sit in a meeting room, an unoccupied meeting room, because if it's unoccupied, you can see sometimes they have door banners and you can see the whole day's plan. Just sitting there all day. People don't challenge you. They'll see the meeting room's occupied, they won't book it. And if they do book it, they'll just ask, we've booked this room and you can leave. So I actually sat in this meeting room for the entire day almost, just sitting on the network doing my thing, getting domain administrator, all good. But we want to go a bit further than that. I left the Dropbox planted so I had the access for later, but I wanted to give a bit more kind of insight into the building. What can I find? I walked around the building. I saw that there was a left badge on the desk for some employee. So I took it. Now I've got access to the entire building. I can actually go in and out legitimately with this badge. Although the badge was for a girl, that doesn't matter. I've got a fake badge on that looks like I'm part of the company. I can use this second badge to just scan through ID badge doors. So I've got access in and out. I've got a Dropbox with a 4G connection so I can connect into the network. From a social engineering point of view, you've got full access to this company. Maybe you want to go further. Maybe you want to access the server rooms. In this engagement, that wasn't the case. I just wanted to have a look around. I've already got my network access. What else can I do? So I looked around. I looked at the HR department. There was filing cabinets that were open, but all of the HR department had gone home by 3:30. The filing cabinets weren't locked. I had access to so many different HR records. I walk around more of the business and you can just see different parts of the business are going home early. So at this point, I essentially have access to the whole building with only a few employees left at 3 p.m. and I'm still there. I can do whatever I want. And for a multi-billion, or at least $1 billion company, this isn't particularly that good. So I collected my thoughts. I thought, I've got network access. I could take some HR data. I think I've got enough to be getting on with. I'm going to take this on to the next stage of the engagement, which would be the next week, and use that 4G connection with the Dropbox to properly own their network. And that's how you social engineer a $1 billion company. Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, comment. Thank you.